we don't have to do anything to get men to love us. They already love us. And what we do by our attacking them, and as one man put it, he said, the worst thing you can do is make a man not care, as in he's not willing to care, right? So there's an abundance. We're already loved. After Greg died, I had to relearn everything because I wanted to love her, and then I realized I wanted to be in a relationship again, and I was doing everything normal women do. So I had to go back to the gym and start working on the other side as well. That yes, there's an abundance of people who are possibilities, and without this, I'd rather be alone, like confronting. I am better off single for the rest of my life than to be with someone who isn't this way, right? Or who is that way, like what you can't live with and what you can't live without, like as in you're not gonna. I won't live with or without that. And a lot of the what we would call in our partnership work productive resistance. The productive resistance is creating safety, which in communication is the only time I hear men talk about being safe, rather than like having security or being productive. But this to create a safety as you're navigating what each of you won't live with or without.
Yeah.
So to have as much respect for the other person's deal breakers as you have for your own. So this is my deal breaker, right? And that's what I realized, that every deal breaker of Dan's, my boyfriend, so I had to examine for, is there something I need to give him what he needs? In which case his deal breaker has created a deal breaker for me. You can't live without that. For me to give that to you, I need this. I require this. So you end up with this kind of beautiful tension. It's beautiful respect of the way that what I would call the upward spiral, that I give you what you need to give me what I need to give you what you need to give me what I need to give me. But it's just, and it can just keep getting better and better and better. And when we're not paying attention to it, we just think someone should give it to us because it's obvious that's what you do in a relationship. We're going to end up with a downward spiral into the sewer instead of, we got to get really curious, and we also have to practice hearing what's true for people. And without it being wrong or right, it just is what it is. Now, does that work for me? Can I work with that? Or this is a disqualifier.
Yeah. I love that when we were doing one of our private coaching sessions, right? And the guy I had originally signed up for Smart Singles for, because I was like, don't fuck this up, Layla. And I got on one of my calls with you, and I was like, he meets all my criteria. I was like, every single one. And I was just like, I'm not sure if he wants big partnership, but he's got everything else. And you were like, that's probably the most important thing. Like the person has to actually want big partnership. And I was like, shit. And like, and then it was
a big partnership. Yes.
It was cosmic in that, like, you know, he'd been sort of seeing this other woman, but like I was the one who really wanted to be with all of that. And it just worked out that I ended up running into him and that woman. And it was their dynamic to me, my judgment, my projection felt very small. It felt like the kind of relationship that's about like, let's just be cute together. And like, you sort of stroke my ego and I'll sort of stroke yours. And that's it. And I was like, oh yeah, like, not ready for big partnership. Like that's actually the dynamic that he most wants to be in. And I could see that all along. Didn't want to admit it to myself. Spent 4 good months in anxiety, you know? And so it's those things that we don't want to, the one thing that we don't just want to be honest with ourselves about. And sometimes that's because like, I don't want to feel the pain of having to leave. I'd rather hold on and keep trying to make this thing work rather than being like, cut, when it's really true that this is not going to work. And so sometimes we can overlook that like major, like blinking freaking red light. And you're like, oh yeah, has to actually want big partnership.
Yeah. I'd say it's most of the time, not sometimes.
Yeah.
And if I could, Layla, I know we're going to wrap up, and I don't know, I might hear people arriving, but um, there's also, Layla, the willingness to let time pass and let circumstances arise to see the deal breakers that haven't been evidenced yet.
Yeah.
And I'm, like I said, we're 2.5 years in, right? I live 90 steps from Dan's back door, but there's still deal breakers on my list that there's no evidence of them having been met. And yes, I have 42 deal breakers. So there's 36 that there is evidence of, but the evidence is going to take time for it to show up. Like it could take another 2 years to have the evidence for these other 6, and each of them are standalone deal breakers.
Yeah.
I'm not giving up on any of them because having been with Greg, right, for almost 28 years, and all the rest of us, however much experience we have, there's things we know about ourselves, and we try to lie and we try to squint. Do you know that that's okay? But it brings out the worst in us, and that's how you can tell. Don't live without it. Who you become is going to chase them away anyway. So don't live without that thing that you need.
Yeah.
If you go bananas when a man yells at you, he needs to learn to not yell at you. And you need to learn how to not do the thing that has him most yell at you, and then walk away if he does start to yell, and like work things out so you don't have these things, right, that have us end up attacking them back. And it goes both ways. I tell men exactly the same thing.